Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Joe.
And we have a special guest with us today. Nate from the University of Maryland is here to discuss a new program that his company that he's interning with is developing. The stress of college sometimes extends beyond people's ability to deal with it. And with that, Nate, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, certainly. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Rabbi. Um, yeah, I'm very excited to share a little bit of information about this app we've been working on. It's called HAP, H-A-P. It is a mental health and well-being tracking app. Um, the app is designed for a daily check-in to be done as often as you'd like. The more data you provide it with, the better it'll be able to show you aspects of your mental well-being. It's a very simple app to use. When you go in, it asks you to complete a check-in that takes roughly a minute. It asks you about 12 questions on different aspects of your mood, your calmness, how you slept, maybe your motivation. And by submitting these check-ins, it'll show you trends over time, how these different factors of your mental well-being are doing. And you can use that to maybe determine how well a medication's working, or if you've been practicing yoga or meditation, how well those exercises are treating you. And maybe you decide you need to switch it up, or something's been working really well and you can stick with it. So it's pretty cool.
So, Nate, let's go back to that checklist. You said about a dozen questions. Do you happen to remember one or two of them you could ask me?
Yeah, so one of the questions that I think is a really great question, at least for me, that I think it would be good to share is, how engaged were you in your daily activities today?
Now, do I do a 1 to 10, a 2 to 3? How do I answer?
Yeah, so for every question, there's a slider that ranges from not at all to very much. So the question would be, how engaged were you today in your daily activities? You could slide it anywhere from not at all to very much. And it's on the back end 1 to 100. But for simplicity's sake, it's just not at all to very much.
Okay, so I just slid it over to 8 or 9 towards the high end. Now what happens?
Yeah, so after completing the 10 or 11 other questions, you'll be directed to the graph, that shows you over time your different mental well-being factors. So we have currently 7: mood, calmness, sleep, focus, motivation, socialization, and physical. And you can look at those different factors. You can look at all 7 on the chart. You can look at just one in the chart. And over time, you can see how those factors have changed, whether you want to look at the last week, the last month, or the last year. And you can look at the different trends to determine, like I mentioned earlier, how medication might be doing, if you've been practicing new trends like meditation or walking outside, and just overall track your mental well-being.
Would I do this checklist every day or twice a day or 3 times? I mean, what's the suggestion for this?
Yeah, so we recommend at least once a day, though we have 2 sets of questionnaires, one for the morning and one for the evening. So if you wanted to do twice a day, we have a view that can show what your morning looks like, and then comparing it to your evening view, and kind of tracking how your day went. Not all users do twice a day. I don't always do twice a day, but at least every day. And then you'll get a really good view over time of how your kind of brain is doing and your mental wellness is.
Let's say I keep working on this and I'm really flustered and frustrated. And do you have something the equivalent of I don't want to use the word emergency, but a call for help? I just fell and I can't get up.
Yes, certainly. We recently developed a new feature in the app called the HAP signal, is what we're calling it. It's very similar to Batman's bat signal. But what we've designed it to do is that when someone needs support, all they have to do is go into the app and hit this little button that we call the HAP signal, and it sends a text out to a predetermined list of contacts that you set up in the app, basically saying, hey, and for me, it would say, Nate needs help. Can you please reach out to have a conversation? And as simple as that, you just hit the button, the message goes out to your list of contacts that you set up in advance. And without feeling the need to type out a text message or decide who it goes to, those people that are close to you, whether it be friends or family, a coach or a mentor, they know that you need help and they'll reach out to you providing that support.
With the HAP, is there any way, or once you push it, then the text goes out?
Yeah, so we include an "Are you sure" kind of page.
Okay.
So you hit the button and then it pulls up your list of supporters, and it has a checkbox next to each supporter. And by default, all the supporters are checked, so the message will go out to all of them. But you have the option to unselect any supporter. So if you got into an argument, let's say with a parent, and you didn't want that parent getting your HAP signal, you could unselect them and then hit OK. And then the text message goes out. So it allows some flexibility on who it goes out to, and it gives you the "Are you sure" in case your finger happened to slip and you hit the button, or you want to change your mind and decide that it's no longer worth it to send the message.
So the HAP signal is like the bad signal. Commissioner Gordon has to climb to the roof and flip on the light. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson pointed out, it has to be a dark night with lots of clouds overhead or it doesn't work. Or is there a way you can set it so that when your negative curves hit a low enough point, it goes out automatically?
Yeah, so that's something we've been talking about as a company. But with all things medical, HIPAA is very important. And making sure that if you're gonna make a claim to a user like that, saying, "Hey, we think you should reach out to somebody," in a variety of different crisis standpoints, you want to make sure that if you're going to make that claim, it's accurate. And we want to make sure that there's enough information and we have full evidence and enough reasoning to say to a user, "Hey, this is something you should do," before we actually send out that message. And we just don't think we're prepared to come up with an algorithm like that yet.
I think you've developed something aimed really at college students, graduate students, young adults, because being used to computers, being everything you're describing, your generation is used to. What's your data so far? Do you have enough data to reach any conclusions?
Not that we've specifically invested time looking into yet. What we're focused on now is spreading the app to allow students to get the support when they need it. I've been fortunate enough to work with a mental health nonprofit called Active Minds. And through that organization, we're a mental health education and awareness organization. I've personally found that students don't always have the easiest access to counseling services, regardless of the school they're at, not just Maryland in my case. But the counseling services are sometimes hard to reach out to. And so by spreading this app and allowing students access to it, and being able to have helpful resources like the HAP signal, we're not too worried yet about the data, but rather just being able to help students. So that's not on the forefront of our minds, but I'm sure eventually it'll be something we'll look into.
Sure. Now, is this just from Maryland, or is HAP, are there representatives on other campuses around the country?
Yeah, so we've partnered with a few different universities. Maryland's not one of them, but I just happened to attend, and any student can use the app. And you don't have to be a student to use the app. To sign up for the app, you can either have a college email address, so ending in edu, or you get a referral code from a current user. If anyone wants to sign up and doesn't have a college email address, my referral code is RRMb. But we've partnered with Northeastern University and St. Thomas's in Texas.
So it is available now, and we'll put that information in the comments section for people to see. Well, thank you very much, Nate. Part of me worries that we're all going to turn into Borg if we start feeding our data into the computer, but it sounds like a very useful tool to deal with the vagaries of and emotional states of university life.
And as I mentioned, Nate, your target audience is the audience that will actually do this, as opposed to some older individuals that would just pass on it. Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me both.